Hello and welcome back to the Bear Cave, and more precisely the Hall of Heroes in the Eberron Marketplace. Purple is sitting next to Glynereth, the Mimic Hunter. In the background there we've got the records of the past hardcore leagues that you can peruse should you so wish. Next to the hardcore and Reaper vendors in the corner there. We've got the mysterious remnant collector over there. And I just wanted to do this time a quick word or two regarding this Mimic event. Because, I suppose a bit of a spoiler alert, but in Purple's latest life, the Eldritch Knight, in the latest quest I did, I got caught quite unawares by a mimic in a chest, and then another one in the chest just next to it, and the whole thing descended into a bit of chaos. So I thought maybe as half as a refresher to myself, and half as a little bit of a heads up to those of you who perhaps aren't so familiar with the event. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of this, what you could get from it, and actually how you can opt out of it as well if you find it getting a little bit too much. So it's an event that pops up maybe a couple or three times a year generally. I can remember one time it was the kind of flavour thing in one of the hardcore seasons, and people were dying all over the place to mimics, so that people weren't even wanting to open the chests half the time. A mimic can appear in any regular chest, as I understand it, not raid chest, but a champion chest it can appear from, and any non-named loot chest, and the end quest and end chests as well, provided that your character that's opening it is level 3 or higher. And that's where I got caught out, because I started this life with Purple. Level 1 and 2 just went by, no problem, and then all of a sudden we hit level 3, we ran into these mimics. It's like, oh god, what do we do? So, well, first of all, what do the mimics do to you? It's a very good idea to tackle them from range, if that's a possibility for you. Obviously Purple here with his big two-handed falchion, that's not his thing in this life, so he had to go close to it. But if you've got a caster or an archer that can just dispose of them from range, that's the absolute ideal, because when they get up close they can put this stacking acid damage over time on you, and if you get a few of those on you, it's going to be ticking for a significant amount of damage. Not nice. Add to that the fact that they can throw this sticky goo all over you, which makes it difficult then for you to get away from further stacks of acid from them. So not good times. Deal with them from distance if you can. In my experience, they can be crowd controlled, like we have here. We have colour spray. I don't know about the web. I don't know whether it's susceptible to that, or whether our web saving throw was just a bit low for it, but I didn't have much luck with that. But the colour spray definitely. In Purple's last life we faced a mimic with the Blightcaster in the what's that quest with the cow and the puzzle, the Tulgi Wood. There's a mimic in there, and I remember it was definitely able to be stopped by the salt ray that the Blightcaster had. And I also remember you seem to be able to, the wiki says you can't, but I'm sure it was able to be instant killed. At least that one was, that mimic with the finger of death. So that worked on it as well. The crowd control definitely works on them, because I've tested the colour spray on the mimics in the current event. So you can definitely hold them, probably stun them as well. So that's probably a good way to start, to stop people getting all this acid damage. I will add the link for the DDO wiki entry for this in the description for those of you who are interested in reading a bit more. The mimics themselves are pretty dangerous because their difficulty rating is dictated by the quest level and the difficulty that you are running, but they are invariably higher difficulty than most, if not all, of the rest of that quest. So it can be quite a spike in difficulty. So prepare well when opening one of these chests. I'm trying to decipher my own writing here. Yeah, I've said that about the keeping distance. The mechanic for finding mimics, apparently the longer you go without finding one while the event is active, the more chests you open, the more chance you've got of finding one in the next chest. And then there's a kind of a reset when you do find one, and the chance becomes less and progressively more as you keep going. There is a way to opt out of the event. This is the Hall of Heroes, as I said, in the marketplace. Glinnereth, the Mimic Hunter, is the NPC relating to this event. You can pick up rare items from the Mimic tokens that you get in the chests. You always get a Mimic token when you kill one of the Mimics. So how do we opt out? How can I avoid these terrible mimics? I'm not going to excuse me. I'm not going to go ahead and do it because I want Purple to keep having the mimics. They make it a bit more fun for me. But you go down that line, how can I avoid? And there's what's it called? Mimic repellent that the NPC will put on you, and then basically you're just out of the event and you won't suffer from any mimics if it's causing you a bit of a nightmare. If I don't really recommend farming, I'll go through some of the rewards. They're not terrible by any means, but it's 80 mimic tokens, so 80 chests with mimics just to get one decent reward. So I would recommend just taking the mimics as they come, saving your tokens over several events, and eventually maybe you'll have enough to get an item. The reason I say that is that the items, a couple of them are nice, but not so nice that you would want to generally sit there and farm the hell out of the event just for the sake of having that item. You can see whether or not you agree with me when I show you the items. If you did want to go ahead and collect plenty of these tokens, you'll be looking for quests which are going to generate a high amount of chests to open. One good example of that would be the Irestone Inlet in the harbour. You'll recall probably just about every bunch of opponents in there has a chest associated with it, and every one of those could spawn a mimic. The other one that springs to mind is the Myadin Kobolds quest in the 12, and the reason I say that one is there are so many champions in there, and the champion chests as well can spawn mimics, so that would be another good one. Something to note, there's a ransack mechanic on the chests for mimics as well. If you open the same chest more than 6 times, it's going to tell you you've looted this chest too many times to get a mimic. So there's that to bear in mind as well. But as I say, I really wouldn't recommend farming the event. Just pick your tokens up as you go along, and after 2 or 3 events you might have enough for an item. I wouldn't say these items are overpowered by any means. It's not like a must-have. A couple of them are good, and I have used them, mostly the level 4 versions you know, for TRing characters. I'll show you the two that I've made use of. Something else to note, there are no mimics at all if the character opening the chests is over 6 levels above the base level of the quest. So if I go into the Catacombs level 3 quest and I am level 10, as I understand it, I won't see any mimics opening the chests. I think you get a text pop-up there, you are too high to get a mimic from the chest or something then. Right, let's go ahead and have a little look. First of all, at the 2 items I've got. Actually, I have an example of a third one as well. I've just picked up this one for my endgame characters. 'Cause sometimes those of you familiar with the Feywild, you'll know there's one very tough diplomacy check when you go into that tower to basically bypass most of the meat of that quest in the tower, make the opponents friendly towards you. But that needs a diplomacy of way in excess of 100 to pass it reliably. And I was just looking at this thinking, exceptional diplomacy, insightful diplomacy, and quality diplomacy. As a swap-in item to help pass that check, this looks pretty good. So I picked it up just now, as there's nothing else I really want from the event. These things, by the way, all come in flavours of up from level 4. Every 4 levels, 4, 8, 12 and so on, all the way up to level 28. So for a TRing character, you could start with these at level 4. The reason I haven't put them on here is we've got 2 very good items for purple in the belt and the cloak slots, so I'm not going to change that. The belt is the hit points one, so false life and insightful false life, quality false life and healing amp. So hit points and healing amp for the belt, going progressively higher as you go up the higher levels. So quite a nice item, especially the lower one, I think. And the cloak too. The cloak has the same sticky goo thing that the mimics themselves put on you. So it's a bit like a web spell, I suppose. When you get hit, it can go off and give you some basic crowd control there. The fortification is quite nice if you don't have any other source of that. And the damage reduction, as you've seen with purple on his invulnerability robe that he wears from the first level, that can make quite a difference in the early levels. But obviously, unlike this one, you can only wear that from level 4. It's still worth having though. DR5 at level 4 is not to be sniffed at. Not bad at all. So those are the 2 items I would say stand out: the cloak and the belt. Otherwise, it's cosmetic items or that necklace of the glib tongue that I've just shown you for the diplomacy and the bluff and that. So let's have a look what we can get. You can have a crate of collectibles, but it's costing 20 mimic tokens. Just collectibles of various different levels that go with the Canith crafting system, if you're into that. I would say just go out and collect during your quests and you'll find plenty of those. So there, as you can see, all the levels. A bit like with any special event like the Crystal Cove, they come in all the different levels. The same cost for each one, so for any special item from here it's 80 mimic tokens, so it's going to take you a while to earn the tokens. And you can probably see just by looking, they're not that special that you would think, oh, I must have this item. Just amass your tokens while you're playing, and then one day you'll say, oh, I've got enough for an item, let's pick up this, like I've just done there. That's how I would do it. I'm not a big fan of farming. If you've watched a bit of the channel, you'll know that. So that's the cloak, and then you've got the necklace. Caustic oil, that's for 20 as well. I'm not a fan of consumables either, generally. If it's stuff for platinum, then yes, fair enough. You know, these potions of rage and haste and things that we've been using on Purple's latest life, fair enough. But when it's these tokens, which are not particularly easy to acquire, no. There's some, if you're into pet companions, there's some sort of money-themed things here. Golds, silvers, coppers, perambulating platinums. And a mini mimic there that you can have as well. So these are all 100 mimic tokens, so it's going to take a while to earn those. But if you're into that kind of thing, have one of these distinctive little characters following you around. To me, it just puts me off when I'm trying to quest. So I do have a few pets in my stable, but that I've earned through the what is it? The monster manual mainly. But I don't usually have them switched on. That's about it for the mimic hunt. I was inspired to to make this by an almost grisly death at the end of one of Purple's recent quests, when one of these mimics just popped up, and I thought, oh, maybe I could just talk a little bit about that. So there you go. I won't waffle on any longer. That's the mimic hunt event. The NPC collector for the event is here in the Hall of Heroes in the Eberron Marketplace. Check it out if you're interested. Thank you very much as always for looking, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.